Welcome back to You Are Your Own Beloved. I got beach hair. I just came out of the ocean and I had an amazing experience. So I wanted to share it because there's always a story and some wisdom. And the birds are really loud right now. So they're like, yeah, share your story, Soulfire. So I'll preface it by saying last night I was traumatized and in pure fear because my little pup Karma had this episode where she hasn't had it for months, where I thought she was gonna faint, collapse, and just, I don't know, go unconscious. And she was, and I don't do well with situations like that. I've learned that about myself. I get completely paralyzed in fear, and I go to pure terror. Like, oh my God, like, I can't breathe. I can't move. It's really bad. So that happened last night, and once I was able to get her under control and give her medication and feed her, and everything seemed to be okay. I just really lost it. I was crying, and I was just like, I can't. It's this process of like seeing her suffering like that. It breaks my heart, and I don't want her to suffer. Yet I don't want her to, like, I don't want to lose her. And I know I'm being selfish, and I want her to stay with me as long as possible, as long as she's okay. And I mean, she seems to be okay. Like, she woke up this morning, she did a little happy dance, and she ate, and we just went outside, and she sat in the sun. And so it's just been really hard on my heart. And I guess the thing is, I feel like because I'm alone, I think it would be easier if somebody was with me. Like, if I lived with somebody, had a partner, or like I was living with my daughter, or somebody, like, where I wasn't always like, oh my God, like, that's when I know, like, we need each other, because like I really can't do this by myself. And so this morning I did my morning swim, and I swam all the way out into the ocean. And usually I do my prayers and my meditation in the ocean today. And when I talk to God, I usually talk to God like internally, but today I spoke out loud. I was out in the middle of the ocean treading water, and I said, God, pretty loud, can you hear me? And I just started sobbing because, just releasing all that fear and all that trauma and like the sadness about Karma. And I was just crying in the ocean. And I just started talking to God out loud, just like, explaining everything. And like, God, I know God's like, yeah, Soulfire, I think I know. Like, you don't have to explain to me. I am God. I know everything. But, it made me feel better to just speak it out loud. And I just, I asked for help. I said, I don't know how I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, what's going to happen when the time comes, how I'm going to react. I'm going to go to pure fear. Like, what if she needs me and I can't act or do anything? Like, I just don't know. Like, I'm just like in this pure like state of like, oh my God, like, I don't know. And I need help, and I don't want to do it alone, and I don't want to be alone. So I kept saying that out loud. I don't want to be alone. And then I was talking to the dolphins, because the dolphins, I have this really deep connection that goes for lifetimes with the dolphins, and they're my family. And they've come to me so many times since I've been in Hawaii, and I've had so many magical experiences with them. But I haven't seen them in months, and I really miss them. And it's just kind of like there's this void and this emptiness. They just haven't been there. And I don't know. So I started talking to them. I said, where are you? I miss you, and I really need you. Like, I know I need your energy. I need to feel your energy around me. Like, I miss you. I'm doing this alone. I need you. And I was just like talking to them, and I treaded water for a while. I did a few laps, floated on my back, and I was out there for a while. My hands started to get really pruny. I was like, they're probably not coming, so I'm just gonna swim back in and head home. So I swam in, and I sat out right on the water's edge at the beach for a minute just to enjoy the sun, and I look out and I see like some splashing, not really that far out, so I thought it was snorkelers at first, but then as I kept looking, I thought I saw a little fin. And I was like, are those dolphins? I wasn't really sure, but then I saw a fin and I saw a little bit more splashing, and nobody noticed. So I just went back in the water and I swam out there, and they were pretty far out, and I don't chase them. I've never chased them. I just tread water and I call to them. So I go underwater and I send out like a signal. It's like a sonar signal from my heart to theirs, and I know that they hear me. And I just call out to them, family, I'm here. Come to me. I need you, family. I love you. I'm here. I love you. I love you. I love you. And so I did that for a couple of minutes. And then all of a sudden I see like all their fins, like they turn and they start heading toward me. And they came to me, and there's a big group of them, big pod. I thought there was only about a dozen, but then when I looked underwater, there was probably about 20. And they came and they swam around me, and they just, swim all around, and I had them all to myself. It was great because nobody really noticed. We were pretty far out. And then after about 5 minutes of having them all to myself, I noticed a snorkeler next to me, a guy, and he was all ready to start chasing them. I said, hey, you can't chase them. And I said, you're just going to scare them away. I said, don't worry, they'll come to you. And he was like, okay. He listened, which was nice, refreshing for a change. And he just treaded water, and they did. They came back, and he was like, oh my God, yeah. It's like, see, they'll come. And they came, and I kept thanking them for coming to me. And then at this point, what happened was they swam towards the beach, and they got so close. I couldn't believe how close they got. So of course, everyone on the beach noticed them, and then people started going in the water, and then they swam back out, and then there was a lot more people. There's probably about a dozen people in the water now. Some on boogie boards starting to chase them, and the lifeguards thankfully said, hey, you can't chase them. They're federally and state protected, so don't leave them alone. And so, but I just treaded water, and I just hung out and just waited, and of course they came back, and they did all these jumps and spins right there. Everyone's like, whoa. I mean, it was so amazing. And I kept going into the water and saying, thank you. I love you. Thank you for coming to me. I really needed you today. And it really made me feel like, that that you're not alone, and the universe does hear you, and God hears you. And it's just something that I've always struggled with, just that feeling of being alone. And always when I do really need like some kind of answer or validation, it always shows up for me. And some of my friends have said to me, oh, that always happens to you, Soulfire. It happens to you. It's like, no, I'm not special. I just believe, and I put myself out there, and I ask for it, and I ask sincerely, with all my heart, and I'm open to receiving, and I believe. So it could happen to you. It's not like I'm special and the universe only answers me and God only answers me. It's not the way it works. So anyway, and God always answers us, but sometimes the answer we get is not what we want to hear, right? Like there's a whole thing involved called free will, and say we're praying for somebody else, like for them to heal or get better if they're sick. We have to remember that that soul has its own free will, and it has its own journey, and it planned its own reasons for coming and for getting sick and maybe leaving early or whatever their soul, we can't necessarily interfere with that soul's free will in their journey, even though we want to so bad, and we want to pray for them, and we want them to get better. But we have to remember that there is a bigger picture, and we're not really in charge. of that. Like we think we are, but we're not. And I remind myself the same thing when it comes to Karma. My dog, it's like, you know, her soul has her own journey, and like I'm not really in charge of, like, if she's had enough and she's done in her body, then I bless her and let her transition, with ease and grace, and not hold her. And I think, and I know that she's sticking around for me. I know that. And I feel bad in a way because I feel like I'm being selfish because I don't want her to go yet, and she knows that. So yeah, I am attached and I'm not ready to let go or say goodbye. So, but the Dolphins, their message is always about joy, especially at the end when they jumped up and span. Three of them did it. 1, 2, and then 3, and it's like, and everyone gasped and was like, "Wow!" And you could hear the energy of the people. They just brought everybody's vibration up. Everybody in that moment felt the magic, felt that feeling of like the possibility of being in that magic, in that joyful place. That's what the Dolphins do. They remind us, hey, there was a time when we used to live in the magic, when it didn't used to be so overbearing and hard and tumultuous, and like there was a time when we lived in this joy and like this buoyancy and this like, oh my God, let's jump for joy and just be happy. And I pray that all of us could find that once again. So that is my prayer for the collective humanity, for anyone who is watching this video. If you are suffering or struggling or going through some challenging, hard times or in the dark, I pray for you that your soul, your being, will find the light and the joy and the magic once again. Remember the Dolphins. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you soon, hopefully with another really good story. Aloha.
The soul fire in me, I give to you. Aho. To learn more about my offerings, visit my website at igniteyoursoulfire.com. Please subscribe to my channel and comment below, my soul family. Thank you for being here on our precious planet Gaia at this time. Your light matters. You matter. You make a difference in the world by just being you. Ahuiho, until our hearts meet again. You are loved.